On today's episode of the Cryptoverse, the United Nations is putting together what could be considered one of the most epic blockchain projects of all time, a project that would outlast even the UN itself. Vaultoro is the one-of-a-kind online exchange where you can trade between gold and Bitcoin. Reserves can be audited online at any time and are protected from confiscation and company failure. Sign up for a free account today by checking out the link in the video description below. Hi there guys, and welcome to the latest episode of the Cryptoverse, your regular dose of news and commentary on Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies and blockchains. I am your host, Chris Coney. Today is Tuesday the 25th of April 2017. I have one announcement and then we'll get right into the main show. The announcement is that the PeerPlay's ICO site has been completely overhauled. I mean, just check it out. It's peerplays.com. Even if you don't invest in this ICO, it's just a good example of a really, really nice site. Now, I have to take what I say here with a big grain of salt because I'm heavily invested in PeerPlays, so am I biased? Yes, definitely biased. But on the flip side, if you want an ICO that's got my approval, this would be one of them. Moving swiftly on to the market roundup, courtesy of coinmarketcap.com. So the top 20 is having a jolly good day today, with a couple of coins in the double-digit club, and actually a couple more further down. Now Litecoin has done pretty well again today, up almost 8%, putting it at $14.63. Litecoin miner support for the SegWit technology is now sitting at 77%. That's 77% in the current activation period, so we are back above that activation threshold once again. Now the biggest winners today are NEM and Augur. NEM is up almost 14%, displacing Monero, believe it or not. Since NEM is having a market cap of now $320 million and a coin price of 3.5 cents. Augur, on the other hand, has gained 19% today, leaving it in 9th place with $155 million of market cap and a coin price of $14.13. Now, given the success of the Gnosis ICO, perhaps the interest in Augur has been rekindled somewhat. Well, that's my best guess as to why the price has suddenly jumped up so much today. Now, moving down a bit, other notables today are PivX up 15.6%, recovering some of that 18% loss they experienced yesterday. And then further down still, Game Credits with a 90% gain there, putting it at 97 cents a coin and a $60 million market cap. 97 cents a coin, you see, that's almost like the perfect coin price, because in the case of Game Credits, it makes it much easier for gamers to figure out how much their game credit balance is actually worth, right? The trouble is that Game Credits hasn't really been designed to be a price stable coin, so this isn't going to last very long at this price. However, speaking of price stable coins, Tether has slipped a little bit further away from its balancing point today. A Tether which should stay within a cent or two of $1 is listed here at 91.5 cents. So that's an 8.5% variance. This is a potential profit opportunity for traders though. If you had confidence that Tether was going to resolve their banking troubles, then you could buy at 91.5 cents, knowing that it would soon return to the 99 cent to $1.01 range. It's just an idea. In terms of the news today, I've turned to CoinDesk, coindesk.com, for this article called "The UN Wants to Adopt Bitcoin and Ethereum and Soon." Now, I'm sorry about the thing at the top. It's a countdown for some event that they're doing at CoinDesk. So I'll try and cover that up because it's flipping and that's going to get annoying, right? So anyway, it's called the United Nations, right? This organization. And what better way to unite nations than with Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchains, I say, which is why I was very interested in what this article has to say. So it begins here by saying, after successfully using the Ethereum blockchain to transmit Pakistani rupees to 100 people earlier this year, the United Nations World Food Programme, the WFP, is arranging extra security to ensure it safely executes the next stage of its work. Now, this was one of the first promises of Bitcoin. Say there was a tsunami in Thailand, a film crew could go down there and speak to the humanitarian organization on the ground, right? Those aid workers would then say, hold up a QR code, which is then obviously broadcast to the whole world on TV. We would then send a few dollars in Bitcoin to that address, and then they would get additional supplies quickly, right? Very direct, very efficient. The trouble with that, of course, is that Bitcoin's transaction speed and the high transaction fees cause big problems. But anyway, it says here they're going to do another trial with 10,000 people in Jordan as part of the World Food Programme, and they're doing that in May. And then next year, they want to scale it to 500,000 people. So that's pretty cool, right? Now then, moving on to the orange bit. It says to protect the privacy of the recipients, the exact amount to be dispersed is not being revealed. But the technology being developed is part of an even bigger push to make the United Nations services so resilient that they could survive even the destruction of the UN itself. Now that paragraph was the jaw dropper for me. This is exactly how I would expect a truly purpose-driven organization to function. And by that I mean putting the mission first and not intentionally tying themselves into the project in an effort to make them themselves indispensable, right? That would be a play for power. And that's a move that we are all too familiar with. Right? It's the reason why I'm always scrutinizing the intentions behind projects. Like, what's their real true intention here? Don't listen to what they say, listen to how they behave, right? So how do they intend to do this? Well, that brings us to the yellow bit. It says the secret to such a design, according to the World Food Programme's financial officer, Human Haddad, could be to remove the rupee altogether as a means of distributing funds, along with any other state-issued currency. Quote, at the time, we're paying out in normal currencies, so-called fiat currencies, close quote. That's Haddad said that, who also works with both the World Food Programme's Treasury and the Financial Risk Management divisions. Quote, that is mainly because a lot of the places in which we work don't accept Bitcoin or Ether, close quote. And then he told CoinDesk, quote, however, the ideal would be that if they do, then we could just transfer the cryptocurrencies. It gets rid of the post-payment altogether, close quote. And to that I say, ding, ding, ding. That's the money shot right there. Excuse the pun. The problem is fiat currencies. And the ideal solution would be to use Bitcoin and Ether directly to the people. And that came out of the mouth of the financial officer of the United Nations World Food Programme. I'll take it. So then moving on to the green bit here under the heading of the trial, it says created over a 40-day period. The proof of concept is the largest effort designed to show that a blockchain could be used to distribute humanitarian aid to those in need. That's what I was talking about in my opening remarks. And then it goes on in the blue bit to say that beneficiaries of the project were assigned random one-time passwords that displayed on mobile devices, which were then shown to supermarket proprietors to help disperse both the funds and the food. So this is the equivalent of like crypto tokens, crypto coupons you could call them, or crypto food stamps even. And then in the purple it says instead of paying the funds directly to the recipients, the UN sends the money to the shops, cutting out both banks and even the actual recipients. So the way I understand this is that the UN sends the crypto coupon directly to the people, to these mobile devices. The people then go and redeem them at the store, right? The store then gets paid one lump sum based on how much food they gave out, right? That cuts down on the number of transactions on the blockchain by using the supermarkets as hubs. And then the other benefit of this is that the risk to the UN is lower, since this approach is more difficult to corrupt and more difficult to defraud. So then even further on down here in the grey bit, it's quite a long article this one, but I've picked out the pertinent bits. It is specifically he believes the current system still suffers from fees, a lack of privacy for the recipient, risks associated with relying on startup mobile money companies, and lengthy contracting processes to ensure payment is still completed in the case that these startups fail. All of these issues, Haddad said, could be reduced by removing the transactions or moving the transactions to a blockchain. Now this sounds to me like a guy who is in the right job, right? But I mean, being a crypto enthusiast, of course I would say that. Now it says they are piloting this on a private version of Ethereum, but they hope that they could move it over to the public Ethereum blockchain if the public Ethereum blockchain could handle the necessary number of transactions. Big if, right? So let's go on down here to another part. I've had to reuse my colors. I ran out of colors. So this is the other red part. Quotes, the ideal world would be where beneficiaries have smartphones. They can store their own private key, so they can see the transaction history, their entitlements, where the shops that are selling the goods that they want, the price analysis of where the rice is cheaper, and so on. Sounds like a job for Humanic, does it not? In fact, Humanic have already easily raised enough money for the pilot project that they want to do in India, which shares a border with Pakistan. And the reason I mention Humanic is because they have already thought about this smartphone thing, and they'll be issuing these $20 smartphones to users on credit. Right? Those users will then pay for the phones in installments with money that they earn through the app and so on. Now, if I were on the Humanic team and I read this article, I might at least make a few phone calls to the UN and have conversations with the World Food Programme about this and see if there was any crossover. So let's end on another high note here, down in the second orange part. Quote, a lot of our people have offered to donate Ether. We can't accept it at the moment, but being in finance and treasury, I'm actually looking at how we can start accepting it. And then Haddad concluded by saying, then, if we can pay out as well, we can offer end-to-end tracking of the money. Money coming in, money going out, where it was spent, what it was spent on, and in a manner that does not intrude on the privacy of the beneficiary. So thanks for joining me today, guys. If you liked this episode, hit the like button. If you disliked it, hit the dislike button. Please leave me a comment below with some feedback and get subscribed. And please support the Cryptoverse and boost cryptocurrency adoption by going to cryptoversity.com/podcast and becoming a patron. From just a few dollars a month, you can secure Cryptoversity's future, get unlimited access to all Cryptoversity courses, and access a private patrons-only chat group where you get direct access to me. That is all for today, guys. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of the Cryptoverse. So until then, it's me, Chris Coney, saying bye for now.